Converting units can be very useful to help you understand how things relate to each other. We can use dimensional analysis as a method to convert from one unit to another using something called conversion factors. Conversion factors are equivalency, so two equivalent values with different units. This allows us to get from one thing to another, like seconds to minutes or inches to feet. The way we write conversion factors is we have to know that something is equal to each other or equivalent. We know there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Because of that, we can write it as 1 minute over 60 seconds or 60 seconds over 1 minute. What are some other conversion factors that you already know? Another example would be 365 days in 1 year, or 12 inches in 1 foot. And these can be written the other way around as well. So 1 foot, 12 inches, or 1 year, 365 days. You probably have other examples that you already know. So when we're trying to solve a problem, it's a good idea to have an organized plan. So we typically write out a unit plan, where we're starting at, where we're trying to go. Once we have our plan, we can use conversion factors that we know in order to connect between those units. Making those connections between where we're starting and where we're trying to go will help us solve our problem. Then we can set up the problem so that our units cancel. The units cancel if we have one unit on top and another unit on the bottom. That allows us to cancel the units to convert to a new unit. Once we have our problem set up and we've gotten to the unit that we're trying to find, we do the math. We multiply across the top. We divide by anything that is in the denominator, or divide across the bottom. So let's look at an example. How many inches are in 32 feet? Well, we're starting with 32 feet. We're trying to get to inches. One conversion factor that we know is that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. We want the units to cancel, so we're going to put the 1 foot on the bottom and the 12 inches on top. That way our feet cancel and we're left with inches. We multiply the numbers across the top, divide by any numbers that are on the bottom. In this case, we would take 32 times 12. We could divide by 1, but that will not change our answer. How many seconds are in 25 days? Well, again, we're going to start with our 25 days. And we're going to try to get to seconds using conversions. Now, this is going to have to be done in more than one step, and that's all right. So, what would be a good place to start? We could go from days to hours. So we know 1 day, we want the 1 day on the bottom so that the units cancel, is 24 hours. Now we're trying to find seconds, so we need to keep going. So another conversion that we can use is hours to minutes. We want hours to cancel, so the 1 hour we'll put on the bottom. And we know there's 60 minutes, so that will go on top. And to get to seconds, we need one more step. So 1 minute is going to go on the bottom so that its units cancel. 60 seconds goes on top. And that's the unit that we're looking for, so we know that we can stop. We multiply all the numbers across the top, divide by anything that is on the bottom. And in this case, we end up with 2.16 times 10 to the 6th seconds. Now, if you got 2,160,000, that's the same value. I've just converted it into scientific notation to make it easier to record. How fast are you going in inches per second if you're going 45 feet per hour? Well, now we have 2 units, but the same rules apply. So we're going to start with what we're given, which is 45 feet per hour. And now we have 2 units to convert, but we're just going to pick one at a time. So let's start with the hours. We're trying to get to seconds, so we're going to put 1 hour on top, so our units cancel. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Now we're in minutes, but we want our minutes to cancel, so 1 minute is 60 seconds. Our minutes cancel, and now we have our denominator in the unit that we want. This per means divided by. When you see per, that's how I knew it was 45 feet divided by 1 hour. Now we can convert our top unit. So we're trying to get to inches. So we want our feet to cancel. We know 1 foot, 12 inches. The feet will cancel, and now our units will be inches per second. Multiply all the numbers across the top. Divide by any numbers that are on the bottom. And we come up with 0.15 inches per second. Here's one for you to try. Pause the video, see if you can use the conversions given in the problem in order to convert and figure out how many minutes you would walk each week. Well, we want to make sure that we use our conversions. So we're going to start with our 3 miles per day. We want the days to cancel. So we are going to put the number with the unit, so 4 days that we walk in 1 week. And we know that we walk at a pace of 20 minutes per mile. So we want the minutes on top because that's what we're trying to find. We can cancel the miles by putting it on the bottom. So per mile means in 1 mile, we walk 20 minutes for every 1 mile. So 20 minutes. The miles cancel, our days cancel, and we end up with minutes per week. So how many minutes do you walk each week? We have our minutes per week. 240, multiply across the top, divide by anything on the bottom, minutes per week. In science, we still use units, but we use units that are what we call metric. These are established units that the entire world uses. The metric system is based on 10, and so between the units, there are orders of 10 or 100 or 1,000. Our base unit, or no prefix, this is where we start. So this could be grams, it could be seconds, it could be degrees Celsius. Any of the metric units work. We start here. If we're moving up our table, so as we go, if we start at a unit and go up, that means our answer gets smaller. If we start at a unit and we move down the table, because the units are smaller, that means that our answer gets larger. So here's a table that uses grams, but that grams can be replaced with any unit. It could be seconds, it could be liters, but we start at the base unit. If we go up the table, a kilogram is 1,000 times larger than a gram. A megagram is 1,000,000 times larger than a gram. And a gigagram is 1,000,000,000 times larger than a gram. If we go down the table, we get smaller than that gram. So a decigram is 1/10 of a gram. A centigram is 1/100th of a gram. A milligram is 1,000th of a gram. A microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Nanogram is 1/10000000th. And a picogram is 1/1,000,000,000th of a gram. And so these are the metric system. When you're doing conversions, you ask if that value is going to get larger or smaller. Also note that the prefix, the number with the prefix, always has 1 in it when we're doing our conversions. The scientific notation goes with the base unit. So how many meters are in 44 millimeters? We've got our conversion table. So we're going to start with our 44 millimeters. We find the milli on our table. So milli is here. We want the milli to cancel. So our 1 millimeter goes on the bottom. 1 times 10 to the -3rd meters goes on top. The milli cancels and we'll be left with meters. How about if we do how many kilograms are in 53 grams? Again, we start with the 53 grams. We find our kilo, so kilograms is higher on our table. So 1 times 10 to the 3rd grams in 1 kilogram. So now we multiply across the top, divide by anything on the bottom if you're using your calculator. have to put your number in parentheses. And we get 0.053 kilograms. Our number got smaller because we went up the table. So when we're converting from our base unit or converting to our base unit, we only need one conversion factor. If the base unit is not in our problem, we're going to need two conversion factors. So to go from 78 milliliters, I convert to the base unit. We're using milli again. And I'm going to put 1 milliliter on the bottom. 1 times 10 to the negative third liters on top. That cancels our milli. And then we're going to go to micro. So micro is right below it. But now we're in our base unit, so we need 1 times 10 to the negative 6 liters is 1 microliter. You may notice the prefix on this looks like a funny looking U. That's because there's so many that start with M. In order to keep from getting confused, we make it, it's called a mu, Greek letter. So now we multiply across the top, divide by anything on the bottom to get our answer. Because we're going down the table from milli to micro, our number gets larger. Another way that we can do our conversions in the metric system is to move our decimal place. So because everything is based on factors of 10, we can move the decimal place to the left or the right to figure out what our number should be. Again, it's important to know if your number is going to get bigger or smaller to help us decide to move to the left or the right. So our conversion factors, if we have 44 millimeters and we want to go to meters, so if we're at milli and we want to go to meters, we have to move the decimal point 3 places. So because we're going from lower on the table to higher on the table, our answer is going to get smaller. So 44, it's a 3-fold difference. So we have to move to the left 3 places. So our answer would be 0.044 meters. How about kilograms in 53 grams? Okay, so we're at grams, and we want to go to kilograms. Again, this is 1,000 times different. We're going up the table. So 53, we need to move the decimal place to the left. The answer is going to get smaller. And we end up with 0.053 kilograms. And microliters to milliliters. So microliters to milliliters is 1,000 times different because we have a 6 and we have a 3. So it's 1,000 times different. This time we're going down the table, so our number is going to get bigger. So we need to move our decimal place 3 places to the right. So we end up with 78,000 microliters, or 7.8 times 10 to the fourth microliters. Determine what's wrong with the following dimensional analysis and indicate what the mistake is, correct it, and solve for the right answer. Pause the video to make your corrections. If we look at the dimensional analysis and we look at centimeters, our dimensional analysis is incorrect. For 1 centimeter, that exponent should not be times 10 to the 3, it should be times 10 to the negative 2. If we check our kilometers or kilometers, that one is correct because there is 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So if we solve this problem, we get 0.002 kilometers. We can convert between the English and the metric system. We just need to know some conversion factors. So the table shows us some common factors to convert between our English, which is what we commonly use every day, and the metric system, which is what all of the other countries in the world use. Just to put things in perspective, when we're comparing, a liter and a quart is about the same size. There's a small difference, but they're pretty close. A pound and a kilogram, a pound is about half of a kilogram, approximately. A centimeter, there are 2.54 centimeters in an inch. A yard and a meter are close to each other, but there is a little bit of difference. We do the conversions the same way that we've done before. There's nothing new. We're just using different conversion factors. We're not dealing with powers of 10 anymore, but we still want our units to cancel. So if we want to find how many liters are in 5 quarts, we start with our 5 quarts. We find our conversion factor on the table. We want our quarts to cancel, so we put the number with the unit on the bottom, the 1 liter on top. Our quarts cancel, and we've converted to liters. Multiply across the top, divide by anything on the bottom. Our numbers are pretty close, but a quart and a liter, the values are fairly close to each other. How about millimeters and 8 feet? Well, this is going to take a few more steps, but we're going to start with our 8 feet. And there's a couple ways that we can do these conversions, but I'm going to go from feet to inches. From inches, I can go to centimeters. Getting ahead of myself on my canceling. So now our inches cancel, we're in centimeters. Now we can go to our metric conversions. Now that we are in metric units, we can use the conversions on our other table. In order to convert in the metric system. And then finally, from meters to millimeters. And our answer 2.438 times 10 to the third millimeters. How fast are you driving in miles per hour if you're driving 2 kilometers per second? So we're going to go 2 kilometers. Per, again, means divided by 1 second. We're going to convert 1 unit at a time. So kilometers to miles, we're given that conversion. We want the kilometers to cancel, so we're going to put that on the bottom. We're going to put the miles on top. The kilometers cancel, and now we're in the unit that we're trying to get to on top. So now we have to convert our seconds to hours. So 60 seconds. It allows us to cancel our seconds in 1 minute, and 60 minutes in 1 hour. And now we have miles divided by hours, which is what we wanted. Multiply across the top, divide by anything on the bottom. $4,471 miles per hour.